This is Noob and Solo, now just known as Talk Anime, I guess. We kind of changed the name a bit. Anyways, this is episode number 17, Astra Lost in Space. So, the brief intro, Astra Lost in Space was originally manga that was serialized between May 2016 and December 2017 in the Shonen Jump Plus website. It was collected into 5 volumes, and then the manga was translated into English by Viz. And this anime actually just came out back in July to September of 2019. And I completely missed over it, and I just started reading the manga recently, so. But, anyways, a brief summary to this. It is the year 2063. Space travel has become possible and commercially viable. A group of students from the high school departs to a nearby planet for their planetary camp. Soon after the group arrives, they encounter a kind of mysterious spear light thing that then sucks them into the depths of space. They find a cool ass spaceship, then they blast off into an adventure 5,000 light years across the fucking universe, and yeah, that is the summary. So with that said, Noob, my good old friend, this was your first experience with this series. You have not even read the manga before this, as I had. But what did you think? What did you think of the show?
Pretty good. I liked the premise early on. I liked when they got to space and the adventure aspects of it. I thought was pretty cool. The characters start out pretty bland, but they get better. Overall, a lot of intrigue. I don't want to go into too much of why I really like this anime right now because I'm pretty sure we're gonna get into that later. But it was a really solid anime.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. At the time of when I recommended this, I hadn't finished the manga, and even to this point, I haven't finished the manga. Um, Manga just kind of goes into a lot more details and things, and it draws things out. But it's pretty a good adaptation from what I can tell. It's not very diverse from the manga, so I kind of expected a lot of the plot points, at least up to where I read. And now that I've finished the anime, obviously, um, I'll probably finish the manga just because to see if anything's different. But I didn't notice a single thing different, honestly, except just more added details about things, really. So, but overall, I enjoyed the anime. I thought it was kind of a good, well packaged. It's kind of one weird because like that season, I've seen this like around, but like I didn't hear anyone talk about this show at all.
Wait, so you watched this when it came out, like
No, no,
during
no.
its season?
I'm saying I no one talked about it. Like I just watched this now for the first time. Um, but like I remember seeing it like on the websites and stuff like that. But no one was talking about it. So I just skipped over it. And I remember we talked about it too, and you said you had a similar experience. You like saw it on your feed, but you're like, this kind of looks just generic as fuck, and went past it. I had a very similar experience, and I think most people do, but I think it's kind of underrated as hell. Now that I've seen the
And you know
anime,
what? Since you say
like,
that, on that real quick, I think streaming services in general, especially because I saw this on Funimation. Well, I saw the title card on Funimation. I don't think the title card did a good enough job of portraying the
yeah.
type of anime
Well,
that this is.
yeah, like it kind of just looked more generic, but like that's kind of I started reading the manga before I read or watched the anime because the manga, like when I actually started reading it, was actually really interesting. So I feel like a lot of people might have just skipped this one because they thought it was just going to be some generic bullshit. But I think it's pretty underrated, and that's why I'm glad that we're going to be talking about it. So with that said, I guess we can jump right into the story and characters. So I did kind of an overview of the story, but how did you feel the story carried from beginning to end? Because I mean, this is another anime. I think easily could have been at least a 24 episode anime if they
I
took
re-
their time with it, for sure.
and honestly, later, I mean, when we get to into the individual characters, I'm going to emphasize again that this should have been longer.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job with the episode run they had, but this could have been so much better if they had like 10, 12 more episodes to like stretch out that plot and really
Well,
uh
there's
get
so
it.
many beats that they hit in like it kind of like similarly to other short animes. That's kind of like a common theme. Instead of having like these character arcs, like a character arc is usually in the animes of this length are kind of like done in one episode, and this anime with a large cast of characters, it kind of has that same thing. It's like I think each character definitely gets fleshed out, and they all kind of each have their own individual episode. But it would have been nice that after they got fleshed out, we had more time with the characters after we knew what they were about. Because there's so many twists and turns in the story that, like, I feel like by the end of it, you're just kind of figuring out who all the characters actually are, and then the show just kind of ends. You know?
Yeah. And in particular, there's at least one character that got almost no development, which I'll go into later. I really do feel like it, mainly due to the length of the runtime. I don't know if it's something related either to
Yeah,
whether
and that's something we didn't even mention. So, like, this anime is technically 12 episodes, but the first and last episode are both like 45 minutes, which
yeah,
that's
which
kind of
it
strange.
needed
So,
that. It really needed that. I'm glad it got that too, because the opening premise, if it didn't have as long
yeah,
of
if
an
that
episode at
was
the
two
beginning, I would
episodes,
just would not have worked.
I think if the first
Uh,
episode was 2 episodes, most people would have tuned out. You know?
yeah, because it does start off with this epic, larger than life premise, and I like how it builds on it. It really does take its premise of a bunch of kids getting lost in space. Um, And it really does like try to build this larger than life plot out of it. At the beginning of it too, like the very first episode, this is a textbook example of how to do a first episode. The first episode was like one of the best first episodes I've seen in um a long time. I
Well,
feel like it was
interesting enough, you know, the first episode is literally just the first manga chapter,
really
which is
that is
strange. Which is
that manga chapter had all that happen in it.
well, the manga chapter was double. Like that's a common thing in manga, though. Usually, like the first introduction manga chapter is like 90 pages. So like I think they just wanted to do. But the thing is, the manga's 5 volumes though. Like, and I haven't finished the manga. The manga does go into a lot more detail, but it's still
Does the manga continue past where the show ends?
no. I don't think so. From what I've heard, it doesn't. No, I heard because in like I've read probably about 70% of the manga at this point, and it's the exact same path, and it's gonna have the same logical conclusion. And I've looked into it, like people talking about season 2, and they're like, nah, there can't be a season 2 because the manga ends where the anime ends, and there's nothing after it. So like I feel like the anime just condenses a lot of things, which I mean I feel like even reading the manga up to this point, I don't necessarily think the anime does a bad job in it. It doesn't leave out too much, but it definitely could have been filled out more, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but I guess that's kind of what the other mediums are for. So,
I I do in the manga, do they actually go to more planets than what they went to in the show?
well, it's
Like
the same. It's the same pattern. It's like they have more like conflicts and like more small things that happen, and the things just seem more drawn out. But the main beats are pretty much the same. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I wish I finished the manga to like do a full compare and contrast, but I mean, I've read a lot of it, and I just there's not enough different that I would think it's even. I'm not saying it's not worth checking out, but for me, as like someone, I enjoy the anime more than the manga, definitely. And I was really enjoying the manga before watching the anime, but now that I've watched the anime, I'm like, well, the manga is just like a manga version of it. So I mean, I
did
don't
you
know.
watch it dubbed or subbed?
I watched it sub.
I watched it dubbed, and it actually doesn't have the best dub in the world. I'm not gonna lie. Olgar's character, for instance, is whoever dubbed his character is pretty awful. But I thought it was still really good for the type of anime it is because You could tell that the voice actors really did hit their all into their roles, and it works out really well. I wish that they had more epic music and scenes, because I feel like there were scenes where there should have been like something as epic as like "You Say Run" or something playing, and we kind of
Well,
get like
the
this kind of
music was
generic.
really nice though. I think it fit the vibe of the show across the board.
Yeah, it fit the vibe, but I felt like it could have been a lot. It should have been a lot more epic at certain parts. So it's
I
not the
guess
music. It's
I
not the
really
music,
enjoyed it.
but I feel like the music direction could have had a lot more like emphasis on those more epic moments, like when
I don't know.
Kanata is
They
like
had some
doing
pretty.
something.
I think the soundtrack was pretty good. I don't think it
Yeah,
was.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that's just like probably one of the few criticisms I'd have for this show. Because overall, like I said, I love the show. I started out not liking it though, and I think it's because at the beginning you think that these are going to be generic one note protagonists, and you don't really see how
You
these.
don't see how there's going to be a harem that's going to form out of this. So.
Well, I'm not much into harem anime personally, so um, I didn't see like it was Kanata. He comes off at least at the beginning as like your typical like shonen protagonist, the Naruto type of protagonist, or the Midoriya type, where you just never give up and just keep on trying. He kind of sort of is like that. I'm not gonna lie, but he does have a lot more depth, and you see later on that he genuinely gets scared. He genuinely loses hope at certain points. He has to have other people on the crew, like, you know, pick him up at certain points, and it makes him seem more human than, I don't know, like whatever like hero like figure that most shonen protagonists come off as. So
Yeah.
overall, yeah, I would probably be my thing overall is it gets much better later on. I'd say around episodes 3 and like 3 onwards, is when you start seeing these characters start to really get fleshed out, and then you learn more about their backstories, and then when the overarching plot starts to unravel, you kind of get engrossed, and that's the point where I went into binge mode, because normally I'll binge an anime like right away, but if the plot just starts out interesting, it just keeps on building up. But the plot in this, it starts out with this epic premise, and then they kind of like go into this thing where it's like it could be just this weekly show that goes on forever, where they just go to a new planet every show, like I don't know, the old Lost in
Yeah.
Space show or something.
They could have
But
done that.
yeah, they could have did that, and it would have made it a lot worse. But they
Yeah.
did establish an overarching plot that was very interesting, very interesting. Anybody who hasn't gotten that far into it yet, I highly encourage you to stop listening to this and go watch it first, and then come back and listen to the rest
Yeah,
of
because
this.
we're gonna
But
spoil the fuck out of
yeah,
everything, and this show has a lot of twists that kind of definitely you don't want to be spoiled, or it would kind of kill the vibe of the show probably.
all right.
Like, I'll just let's talk about the biggest twist. And I say that very ironically, and that's that one character who was like a half man, half chick, and I'm like, they're
Oh,
like,
you
you're a
Luca.
chick. They're like, you're a chick, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was a chick the whole time.
Uh,
But I
but
was
then it
watching the
turns out,
sub.
but you're only half right.
But the thing is, no, because like it was supposed to be the reveal, like they take off their shirt, and they like you were supposed to assume they were a guy that whole time, and then they open their shirt, and it's like, oh, they have female tits, so
Well,
they're a girl.
which has happened in a number of anime, so that
But
type of reveal wouldn't be surprising. But the fact that
but the thing
he's
is,
both a guy
but
and
I'm
a girl,
saying,
he's a intersex and
but
stuff.
I'm what I'm saying is, I didn't even realize it was supposed to be a guy. I thought it was supposed to be a chick the whole time.
But it's a chick, but it's also a guy. And
Yeah, I,
I
I didn't know.
Luca ended up being one of my favorite characters, though.
Really,
Yeah, I
I
thought.
why?
I don't know. I thought he was like a pretty interesting character. I'm going to refer to him as a he because he says in the show that he identifies as a boy.
Yeah.
But I thought he was kind of like
He has a dick. I mean,
he was a dick. He was also a
no,
little funny. He
he
liked
has a dick.
yeah, but he also it's implied that he has both parts. So he's a both male and female. I thought that him and Olger were kind of. I mean, it's semi implied that him and Olger do have some kind of relationship later on when he's talking to Ares and um what's the blonde haired chick's name? Uh
I suck with names. I can't do names.
Kittery. When he's talking to both of them, like outside of Yunha's performance and stuff, uh, Luca says that Olger wasn't even home last night, and he came and stayed the night at his place a few times and stuff. So I, at the very least, Olger is still like feels close enough with him, like after they got back to the point where he'll just drop by and stay at his place every now and then. So maybe something does develop with them later on. And honestly, I was kind of shipping those two.
Wait,
So,
shipping
uh,
who?
Luca and Olger.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I totally
Hmm.
did.
Isn't it
Um,
implied that he's gonna get with the younger clone of the one chick
no. At what point is it ever implied?
when he's like in the final episode where he's like picking her up from school, clearly wanting to fuck her?
No, he was picking up the reporter.
But I'm
What
saying
was?
he clearly wanted to fuck her. Let's be honest here.
No, no, he was picking up what's her name? Man, I'm Polina. Yeah, he was picking her up to do an interview.
People know who we're talking about. We don't need to. We don't. I don't need to try this. I'm not here to practice Japanese with.
No, Polina, she's like Russian.
I'm saying like just saying names.
Her last name is Levinskaya. Like,
I can't say any fucking names, man. I can't
yeah,
even say English names.
yeah. She's like the only like one in the show that has like pretty much a pure like semi English name because she is like Russian and stuff. But I thought like Luca was one of the best characters in the show. Olger never really gets super interesting. I thought his backstory was probably the most like I don't know, like well actually I could say the least interesting compared to everybody else. Everybody else has like these amazing backstories and their parents were complete piece of shit. And don't get me wrong, Olger's parent well, his father or whatever was also a piece of shit. But everybody else just in comparison just seems to have it so much worse. That's one thing too. By the end of it, you're wondering which character actually had the worst upbringing out of all of them, and it's hard to decide.
Um,
um,
the worst upbringing of all of them.
yeah.
Definitely uh the king kid.
Oh, Shars.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say he's pretty bad, but
Which
um,
I guess we should go through the characters kind of in order, or somewhat of an order, for we don't miss anyone. So we talked about the main boy. He is just the,
well, we didn't really talk about Kanata much.
but
Kanata is the
he's the shonen protagonist.
yeah he like that's basically his personality, but
Yeah.
he is at the very least I feel a little bit deeper than most typical shonen protagonists. He has a lot more depth to him. His he didn't want I do will say this one thing that I will criticize about Kanata. He says he didn't want to follow his father's dream, but he wants to follow his teacher's dream.
Yeah.
So he ultimately like he's still saying that I really don't have a dream of my own, but if I had to choose between following this guy's dream or this guy's dream, I'll take this guy's dream.
Oh, I don't know
Um
if it's like that. I mean, it's
I
just
mean,
like
that's kind of how I saw it cuz um he basically does tell Ares at one point that um like his teacher died and he just wants to continue his teacher's dream. So
yeah.
it's
So, but the thing is, you act like that's like a negative.
I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but it's kind of contradictory to him not wanting to continue training to be a an athlete because he didn't want to follow his father's dream.
Well, his father was like forcing him to do it. Like the teacher just wanted him to do whatever, and like the teacher was trying to encourage him to find what he was passionate about. The teacher just had that passion, but the teacher wasn't able to do it. So like when the teacher died, he said, "Okay, well, since I don't know what my passion's going to be, then I'll just follow what he couldn't do."
Yeah. And honestly,
And I
maybe
think it
it's
works.
I feel like it would have come off as a lot more genuine if it had a if this anime had a longer runtime, because that relationship between Kanata and his teachers really not expanded upon
You
all
wanted
that
a
much.
whole flashback episode
Yeah, I kind of did. Because the little bits that we
because we
get
don't even
here and
know
there
how
is
they
just
met or like why he gave it. I mean,
yeah,
like they,
like they're like you're told about his relationship with his teacher, but you're never actually like really shown it in any meaningful detail. So
yeah, we
from
just
that
know
point
they
of
went
view,
on that camp trip and like the teacher
yeah,
like died saving one of the
yeah, he
kids.
talks about that camp trip a lot and stuff, but
But the thing is, like, he
I
already
feel like for me
had
personally,
a
I never
bond.
really cared too much about the fact that he was on that camping trip. It's just something that he tells this story, and you're like, oh, that sucks, but that's it. You don't really get
Well,
like
he
to
also
like
learned how to survive on his own for like a week, and like that kind of like
yeah,
made him who he was.
yeah, but like
And he like
I
because of the
personally
mistakes there.
I feel like that that teacher like that teacher yeah, them showing that how that teacher had a long term influence on Kanata, more than just this camping trip that traumatized them and stuff. Like, oh, like what was their relationship like before that camping trip outside of, oh, I just want you to do whatever you want to do,
Yeah, I mean,
or
we
like,
don't even know what subject he taught or anything, or why they were
yeah,
even there in the first place.
yeah. So I feel like if you had like a flashback episode where you go over that a little bit more, it would have made you care a little bit more about it. And there's other anime that do that really well, but those animes have like a lot longer running
Yeah,
times, like 10 or 12 more episodes.
24, 40,
Sometimes like
episodes.
50 episodes or something. So
Yeah.
I'm not faulting this anime for it. More than likely this anime was given a strict budget and like said, here's the number of here's the episode run you have, and do what you can with it, because anime is like we both know anime is made on a very strict budget, and like a lot of times these studios are like basically paid nothing. So I feel like it's something that if they were to like expand on this in the future, I would like to see more about Kanada's relationship with his teacher. But other than that,
I don't think they'll do that.
other than that, I feel like Kanada's character was really well developed. It He comes off as being a leader. He's willing to do like he's willing to sacrifice he was willing to sacrifice his arm to save somebody who was trying to kill him. That says a lot about Kanata as a character. It says a
Well,
whole lot about him as a
he's to
character.
save his
Mhm.
friend.
Yeah, that was trying to
But
kill him.
like, okay, but the thing is,
Honestly, you could say that about Luca
let
too,
let
because
let let
Luca
let,
went out of his way to try to save Olga after Olga tried to
let,
kill him.
let me
Uh,
say, I feel like not to cheapen his arm sacrifice, but like in anime where if you sacrifice your arm, it's kind of like
well, there,
Naruto. Like at the end of Naruto, like yeah, he loses his arm, but then he like easily gets another one, and it kind of happens here. I mean, honestly, having a cyber arm is probably better than like a not cyber arm. I
yeah,
think I might
but
just cut off my arm and get a cyber arm for fun if I lived in this world.
the point is when he lost that arm and stuff, he didn't think he was going to get another one, and even thinking that he was still willing
Well,
to
he
forgive
didn't mean
Sharp
to
and
get his
stuff.
arm fucking sucked off. Like it's not like like he didn't like
He was willing to get himself killed trying to save
yeah.
Shar's, because he thought that he was like Kanata for all intents and purposes thought he was going to die. So losing an arm was probably like preferable to what he thought would have happened to him, but he was still willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean it was a good moment. It was an awesome moment.
Yeah. Um. So overall,
But
I really like Kanata as a character.
I
I just
think he
wish
would I
we
think he
could have
would
gotten a
I think he was a good character. I mean,
yeah. My criticisms about the fact that his backstory isn't expanded on as much as I would like is just minor like nitpicks. Kanata is still a really solid character and hands down one of the best like shonen like protagonist trope type of characters I've seen in a long time. So
Yeah, yeah. All
I
right.
guess
So
we
who next? I guess the other main protagonist, Ares.
Aries. Um, I I love Aries, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Early on, Aries just comes off as being a waifu and really nothing more. But uh, which there's nothing wrong with
I
waifu.
mean, let's
Um,
talk about her character. So her character, she has a photographic memory. That is her thing, and that actually plays into the plot later on
yeah,
because they realize that he was the bad guy because of her photographic memory. So that was cool that that played into the plot. Um, and yeah, I mean,
I think the
she's kind of there.
yeah. Like her her character was kind of to the point where she didn't really need much development because she
Well, she
didn't have
wanted.
as
What was her arc? She wanted to make friends. That's what her whole
yeah.
story
I
was.
mean, the thing is, she didn't have the insecurities the other characters did because she was raised by a loving parent.
Yeah, she had a loving
So
parent. She everything was cool. She just kind of got there. She just wanted to make friends. She does that. I mean, she doesn't nearly have the tragic like drive like he did. Like he wanted to you know be a leader kind of and fulfill his teacher's dream, and she just wanted to have a good time.
yeah, and at the end of the day, she did that. She made friends with everybody. She was integral toward the end to the plot and stuff. And her connection to Shars and stuff, especially at the end. Let me talk about that at the end when Kanata asked Shars for permission to marry his daughter. Up until then,
Yeah.
I had forgotten that Shars is the clone
Well,
of Ares'
yeah. I mean,
original.
so wait. I guess we should probably talk about that before we go any further. So everyone in the show was a fucking clone. Did you see that
Yeah.
coming?
No, I definitely did not. That was a nice plot twist. That was a brilliant because at first I thought the clone thing was just going to. I kind of sort of already thought that Phoenicia was a clone of Kittery. I thought that was. I kind of saw that coming.
What would you even
Um,
give you the implication that there was cloning in this series?
huh?
What made you think there was even
Well,
cloning in the
well, well.
series?
No, I didn't see it like from the get go, but
You're
I
like, that's
knew,
a fucking clone.
I
Little
knew
sister?
I
Nah.
knew at some point that it wasn't gonna be as simple as them just being sisters. So I don't know why I thought that. Maybe it's because it reminded me of a plot from another anime I may have watched at some point. But I kind of saw that those like Phoenicia being a clone of Kittery, but she wasn't a clone of Kittery. They were both clones of their mother. So it wasn't that Phoenicia was a clone of Kittery's; that they were both clones of somebody else. So I did not see that coming, and I did not see the plot twist of all of them being clones of their parents and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a genuinely interesting and out of nowhere plot twist. You would have never saw that
Yeah,
coming.
I really liked the twist in the show. That was definitely
Mm.
one of my favorite parts. I mean that twist alone with the clones was like, what the fuck? Because it really just makes you think, okay, well that's why they wanted them all dead. So and I do like that as kind of a plot because like once you find that out, it's like you're rooting for them even more because you're like, okay, like so this definitely was rigged. Now they definitely need to get back and fuck these people over because like they tried to kill them.
And that goes into another thing too. Is like they would have basically all died if it wasn't for Ares. I know you can say Kanata like saves everybody, but if Ares, like literally Ares being there, is the reason that they were all even left alive. Sharks would have killed all of them if
I
Ares
guess
was not
I
in that
guess
group.
that is kind of true. That is kind
Yeah,
because she wasn't part of the plan, at least what
yeah,
he
because
thought.
Shars had plenty of chances to kill all of them. And
Yeah,
actually, in the first episode, he could have just pulled out that wormhole thing again and just wiped them all out. But he wouldn't simply because Ares was in the group. So Ares is really the main reason that all of them are alive. Um, There's no way, two ways around that. Ares is the true hero of the show.
Yeah, I mean
Eh,
she's my waifu. So
Yeah, I mean it's, and I guess I'll go on a little waifu tangent real quick. All the chicks in this show were basically waifus, all of them. Eh, and even the half chick Luca was still basically a waifu.
oh my god, dude.
Yeah, I
I
don't know what it
mean,
was.
I didn't like any other chicks really, which I guess I will continue on. We'll continue on. Who are we up to? I guess let's talk more about
Sure.
Luca. I mean Luca. We talked a little bit about them before. I don't know how you said they were your one of your favorites. I mean, they're kind of just annoying.
I don't know. I like Luca. His character was it never really fit into a single trope. He was always multi-dimensional and stuff. And then the reveal that he was half boy,
What do
half
they
girl was
do
kind of
that's useful
hmm?
for the? What do they do the entire trip that was useful?
Well, you don't have to have like one specific skill to be useful. I
The
think
only
Luca was
useful thing
more.
I could think is that they had like a glue gun and they were able to glue this when the ship like exploded or whatever. They like sealed that. That's all they did the entire show. Also,
Uh,
their backstory,
oh wait, actually, you're talking about Luca right now.
yeah,
Did you forget Luca made all the weapons that they were using to hunt and fish and stuff?
kind of, but anyone could have done that.
No, they couldn't have. Luca was the only one who did it.
Luca just kind of sucked.
No,
Um,
no. I think Luca was one of the most well-developed characters in the show.
but they don't even have like a backstory. They have nothing. They're just pointless.
He does have a backstory. He talked about it when he's like when the ogre was trying to kill him and stuff, and that um he like when his father found out about his multi-gender stuff that he immediately abandoned him and
Who
stuff.
wouldn't?
Uh, this is going back to our like previous podcast on the day I became a god, where I talked about shitty parents.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
wait. Okay,
Uh,
I'm sorry to put this aside. Watching My Hero, I was reminded, fucking, what is his name? Endeavor is the worst father ever. And I just,
Endeavor
okay, listen,
is both
this,
the worst
shut the fuck
and
up
the
for a
best.
second. Listen, noob here. Remember, I don't know if you guys listened to all the episodes, but in the My Hero episode, he talks about how Endeavor's such a cool, awesome, great character who is a known child beater, wife beater. Like, so he says that's a good father, but then he went on this whole tirade about like if banning your kids is worse. Like, Endeavor, what's
Well,
worse,
Endeavor
abandoning
never
your kid
abandoned his
or
kid.
beating your wife
Endeavor,
and kids? This man clearly
I'm
thinks
not. I'm
beating
not
your
saying
wife
like,
and kids
look.
is
Endeavor,
better than
Endeavor doesn't
abandoning
start
them.
off as a good father, but he eventually becomes a good father.
You can't beat your kids and then get a redemption arc.
He gets a redemption arc. That's exactly what happens.
That's like one of the most unforgivable things, beating your wife and kids.
But you know,
That's way more unforgivable than abandoning
if
someone.
you're willing to take some like like demon spawn or whatever into space and blow him up with your own body, then you're redeemed.
He's only doing that for his own fucking ego. But
No, he's not doing it for his
this
own
isn't a
ego.
My Hero
He was doing
podcast.
it to. Oh yeah,
I
like
just wanted to make the point
well,
that
like there's a
you're
new season of My Hero out now, so we'll save it until the end of this season, and we'll go back and do another My Hero podcast. But that aside, Luca's father, I don't think you are gonna sit here and try to defend Luca's father, are you?
I mean,
Here we go.
didn't his father know he was a clone?
I don't know.
So that's why. But I don't know. I understand his backstory. That's why
Um,
because like we know his actual clone is that of an
well,
artist
it's implied. Yeah, his actual
who's like a
original was like
creepy
some.
weirdo who just
Yeah,
wanted to be intersex.
yeah. So his original was a complete piece of garbage. His father, though, that one that raised him, was also garbage because it's implied that his
But
father put out a hit on Olger's brother for
yeah,
uncovering some
but
stuff.
I don't understand. Like that's why I don't understand though, because like if the clones were put into good hands for they could grow up, why would the artist put the clone in the hands of that guy?
I I don't know. That artist clearly he has an ego problem.
Well,
Like honestly,
I didn't understand that. But I might have not been paying attention enough. So, um, but yeah, I wish
honestly, at
Luca.
the end of the day, I think the artist was like everybody. He thought that it was like weird that everybody else just raised their clones as their kids and stuff, and was wondering why they didn't have any emotional attachment to their clones, even though they raised them like their own children. The artist was like, "Oh yeah, my clone was always just a product to me, and I just wanted to be like a perfect being that transcends like
I love how
gender
their
or something like that."
example of a perfect being is just having tits. That's literally it.
Well, he wanted to be like, I mean, like he has like the
You're
parts of
telling
a
me
guy
it's
and a girl, and
fucking two oh yeah, that's another twist we didn't talk about. It's like it's actually like 2169 or whatever.
oh yeah, the timeline thing. Honestly, the timeline thing. By the time Polina gets done telling her story, you know that there was probably some time skip somewhere in there. There was no
Yeah.
way that all of that stuff happened in 12
That was
years.
another really cool
Uh,
twist though, is that like all of their fucking history was rewritten due to the power of the warping
yeah,
devices.
could you imagine waking like finding out one day that all the oh actually I guess we live in America where we're taught wrong history all the time, but um yeah, that's got to be weird finding out that like all of your history was just completely rewritten and like the basically the past 100 years worth of your history was just
Which
completely made up.
before we continue on the characters, I really wanted to kind of just talk deep dive into that concept. The idea of was it necessary to do that, and do we think it was a good thing? Because like at the end of the series we're led to believe with the conclusion that the people deserve to know, and like it's even says ignorance or peace and ignorance is, it might as well not be peace at all, which is kind of like something I don't necessarily say I disagree in, but it's something that kind of like for the stability of humanity, like ignorance and stupidity and brainwashing is kind of necessity to a certain degree, just because humans are monsters. And it's even implied that now that they're like letting people like learn the secret and get access to the warp technology again, they're like, all right, we're telling everybody that warp technology exists now, but everyone has to pinky promise that they won't use it to destroy each other. And
And you know what? That just makes no sense
well, like
at
I'm
all. Why
saying,
would they try to get rid of technology that could have like that? They basically like set themselves back
well,
as a
because that
species
I think they're
a
going to
hundred
destroy the
years on.
world with it. You can use like it's the logical conclusion. It's like as soon as like a terrorist group gets a hold of warping technology, it's game over.
I mean, as soon as a terrorist group gets a hold of a bunch of like plastic silverware, it's over.
Yeah.
You don't set a society as a whole back like a century as far as
I really want to know
technological
about the warp
progress.
technology, man. Like how does that work? It has like imagine the power to be able to warp across like space. That has to have some kind of like black hole like generator in some kind of pocket dimension. Like it's literally like next level sci-fi type of shit.
I mean, if you want to just go on amazing technology, the spaceships, the Astra itself was pretty technologically advanced. Imagine 5,000 something light years away,
And that was a
and they
shitty
were able.
ship too. That was a
Yeah.
hundred. Like that's another thing I have a problem with. Literally, okay. Remember how like at the beginning of the show they're like, "Oh, this ship kind of sucks. It can barely like travel." But at the end of the show, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna buy this 100-year-old ship, and I'm gonna." I guess they retrofitted it though, right? With like newer stuff. That's
Yeah.
what it was implied at the end. But even
Yeah.
with that said, it's still a 100-year-old ship. Like, who would want to use that? Because you would imagine in 100 years. Well, I guess you wouldn't imagine if they regress technology. that far and they covered it up, were they still developing technology? Because it seems like if you had
Yeah,
the
because
warp
like, well, the thing
technology,
is,
like you had,
Zach's
well,
father was a researcher,
well,
so
let me. I
obviously
just
they
want to
had like
make this
scientists.
point. I want to make this point. Like, okay, so it's 100 years of technology. Okay, but to get rid of the warp technology, you would also have to get rid of like the things that led to the warp technology, which probably would have made better ships in my mind, right? Like you would have to get rid of other science, otherwise there would have been a scientist like within one generation who would have been like warp technology. Someone else would
Yeah,
have theoretically invented it if the science was already there. So like they had to have erased more of the technology than just the warp technology itself. That was the whole point of the kingdom, was to like cover it up, right? And like hide that science. So I don't know.
yeah,
That's
it's
confusing.
kind of maybe like the government just catches wind of anybody who's about to invent warp technology and just
Takes them
like
out.
yeah, they
What
find them in
I
a
think that's what the
alley the
whole
next
point of the
day or
kingdom, like that was weird too. Like they just have like a whole medieval style kingdom, like, and it's
yeah,
because
the kingdom was hiding the most advanced
and they're
technology humans ever
well,
invented, and the kingdom was basically in the medieval ages.
yeah,
Like,
that was no one would ever suspect that.
yeah, the irony was just mind blowing on
And
that.
my thing
But
is, if the level of technology is weird, like they have cloning, but they don't have. Okay, wait. If they can clone an entire body, why couldn't they just clone like organs and like tissues to replace your current body and make you biologically immortal? Like I've seen stories like this too. It seems like couldn't you replace enough of yourself with like cloned like body pieces, or couldn't you like just clone your body in an adult form? Why do you need to clone your like, because if you can change conscious, like it's implied they're developing technology to move your consciousness from one body to the other one and override it, but you're telling me that you have to grow a body and like from baby to an adult and it has to go that way?
yeah, why couldn't they just speed up the cloning process if that
It
was the
just
case?
like that technology. I mean, there's. I guess we could go on a tirade about the technology. I just wanted to draw attention to the 100 year time gap and what that meant for technology and what that meant for the world, and just kind of if that was a right choice for them to do. Because I think,
I honestly thought that the 100-year time gap, it was kind of something I kind of already foresaw coming because the 12 years from like one planet to another, rebuilding all the civilizations just made zero
well,
sense.
once you find
But
that out, but that was like at the you literally find out that reveal in the next
well, the
episode.
thing is, you like even before like Kanata said, wait, well actually I forgot who was it Kanata or Ares that said to Char's like, wait a minute, like that means this would have been like 100 years ago or something, and they started making Polina feel like really old. Uh, which is
Yeah,
another thing too. Polina, she was like an astronaut from what the year 21, wait no 2040 or something like that. I think that's when she got
another
went
thing. Yeah, that's right. She's like
so
40 something.
yeah, and in that day and age they had the ability to cryo freeze somebody, which basically let her like not age for 100
Yeah,
years. But
someone could just pull a Futurama in this world.
yeah. The technology advancement was, like, all over the place at different points,
Yeah, like
and
that's the thing. I still, because when you're talking about warp technology, where you can literally warp across like space and literally time itself in a way, there's like almost nothing more like powerful. And like in some science fiction, like Mass Effect, the video game series, there's giant relays that exist in space that do this. But in this show, it's literally like a fucking like a key fob.
yeah,
Like what
it's,
the fuck is going on inside that key fob? I'm just saying, if you can invent warp key fob technology, but you can't do biological immortality, someone fucked up somewhere.
honestly, a lot of like what they were saying about that meteor and stuff too.
Oh, wait, wait.
Like
Here's another point. Okay, the technology about. I hate to cut you off. Remember that thought you were talking about, but like, wasn't the whole point that they could move their consciousness from one body to another? Why does it need to be their clone? Couldn't they just like kidnap like a nice looking body that they like and just put their consciousness in them?
well, these people were egotistical, so
I
like
guess, but like,
you know especially that artist dude that cloned himself into Luca and stuff. Like his ego had to be off the charts.
you know how easy it is to find like a fucking a transvestite that has tits and a dick? You can go to any like
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been his. And
it
these
could have
people
easily been
that
his.
these people, the people that were cloning themselves, they already thought that they were perfect, and they just
Like,
wanted
and can we
to.
also talk about how like when they made the clones, it wasn't illegal, but then they suddenly like wouldn't there be like a statute like basically saying, okay, well, no more clone like they like outlawed cloning after they had already cloned. Isn't that kind of unfair to people that made the clones? Because it's very clear that cloning wasn't illegal when they made the clones because they're all freaking out. They're like, oh, the government just made cloning illegal. So like, was it
Yeah,
for many years? Was it one of those things that it's like you're not really supposed to do it, but there's not a law saying you can't do it. But like, what are they supposed to do? Just go execute all the clones? Like that whole thing confused me
yeah.
too because it doesn't make any sense that
I
like
think it was implied that
you
um
shouldn't do it.
yeah.
It's kind of like a Frankenstein thing. It's like
Well, I
there's
think
not a law saying you can't make Frankenstein, but if you make Frankenstein, did someone get caught making a clone? That had to have happened, right? And then they're like, all right, anyone who made a clone, you're in big
you know
trouble
what
now.
you know one thing too that was really upsetting. I mean, we got to see a little bit of their parents getting punished and stuff, but you don't really feel like the characters in the show got their complete revenge on
Vengeance?
their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you only see Olgar's dad in jail at the end, and it's just implied that the rest of them are arrested. But you don't get to see them really suffering like they should be for literally trying to murder their children to hide up the stuff that they were doing.
Well, they weren't children; they were clones.
They were still children, and like
Mm.
yeah, it was a clone and stuff. If you raise a clone for like 16, 17 years, you like bathe them, feed them, you send them to school, and why like how do you what kind of unfeeling person just decides one day, okay, it's time for you to die?
I
Sorry, but it's
mean,
you or me. Like I
wait,
just
and
that just doesn't make sense. I mean, with the Luca's with Luca's original, it made a slight bit of sense in that the dude never had anything to do with Luca, but these other clones were raised by their originals.
yeah, can we talk about? Let's go ahead and move on to uh, the sister and her little sister, and then their like mom. Let's just talk about all three of them together.
Oh
Um,
man, the
First
thing,
off,
their relationship was just kind of like weird in general because
well, why did her
uh,
mom need two of them?
she wanted the second one to harvest organs from for like in case something happens to her, like she gets sick or something.
Just can they not just like grow organs? If you can make a full ass fucking clone, unless this is
You
like
could just clone the organ. It would seem
that's
like
what I'm
you should
saying.
be able
That's
to
why it
do
doesn't
that.
make any sense to me. Like you could like clone organs if you're gonna like, oh,
But
I
but
need
the
to
thing is,
harvest the organs.
if you live in a day and age
Unless
where
is
you can
unless this
invent like
okay.
a robotic prosthetic
Well, that's
arm,
what I'm
you
trying to
could
think.
probably build a better heart than what you
Is
lose.
this cloning? Is this cloning in this universe? Is it like like real life cloning, where like they take like an embryo and they inflict it with like your genes, and like it has to grow in an actual woman, and give a woman has to give birth? Is it that type of cloning? But even in the modern world, we literally can clone organs now, and we can grow like organs. Like we're doing that.
And one day we'll probably be building better organs than what we could like grow
Yeah. By the
organically.
time, well, in our timeline, this would be 140 years in the future from now. So
Yeah.
it's possible.
A lot can happen in 140 years. A lot did happen in 140 years. They just covered it up. Like they could have probably been invented time travel by now, but they decide to wipe away like 100 years worth of
And then
human
another
progress.
thing I was confused about, I wanted to ask you about the ship. At the beginning of the show, they're like, let's name the ship Astra. And you're like, okay. But then it turns out the planet is also named Astra. So why would you
That
name the ship after the planet? I mean, I guess you're going there, but like it just kind of
no, they
like
they 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 saw that like
I know they
sign
saw
this
the
thing.
plaque, but it's like, but that's also the name of their planet. Like if I went to a spaceship and I'm like, all right, what should I name my spaceship? And I see a plaque that says Earth, I'm not gonna be like, oh, my spaceship's name's Earth. Like I'm just saying, like it takes away the meaning of the name of the ship by having the fucking planet also named that. They couldn't have like made the planet name something else.
I guess if they had named the planet something else, the big reveal wouldn't have been as I don't know.
Like maybe Earth 2?
It wouldn't have made it seem as foreign to Polina as it was when it was just
It could
something.
have been anything.
But then that me like when when Kanata was saying I thought the name of our planet was obvious. It's Astra. It wouldn't have seemed as obvious if it was something you hadn't heard of before that.
No, I mean, no, it could have been anything. But it was just weird though, because like, if that's, imagine that situation happened, right? We're all on a spaceship, and you see that plaque, and then the dude's like, "Oh, let's name it Astra." You're not telling me one of them would be like, "Really, the name of our fucking planet?" I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think
It just takes away the
in
moment,
just
the
normal
impact of the
conversation.
moment.
I can't
For
be.
me, it takes away the moment of seeing the plaque and getting the name from the plaque, because the plaque ends up being a reference to like looking for the planet, because that was the mission of that ship, was to find these planets, and that was their like slogan or motto or whatever. So, but to then name the planet that, like, it just, the planet should have been named that. That's all I have to say. Should have been named literally anything else.
What else would they have named the planet other than like something based on their slogan that got them to that planet? Like all of humanity gathered around this slogan of whatever that said, per asta astra or something like that. So it made sense for that to be involved in the planet's naming when humans moved to that new planet.
But isn't Astra like Latin for like stars travel or stars?
I have no clue. I don't speak
I'm
Latin.
pretty sure that's what it is. Is Astra is like Latin for star. So naming a planet after a star is stupid to me. But I mean, I
Well,
guess
I guess from far away, a planet would seem like a distant star. You've heard of a lot of science in a lot of science fiction planets referred to like that and stuff. So
yeah. I think it would have been more clever if the planet name had something to do with like forgetting memories.
yeah, I don't know. That would have been just hitting that nail in the
That'd
coffin
be
a little
funny.
too hard.
Totally nothing mysterious happening here.
But going back to Kittery, Phoenicia, and their mother and stuff, what I thought was kind of interesting, a little bit funny about all that whole relationship between the three of them is that Phoenicia was sent away, and then she came back and was adopted by Kittery's mother to be her adopted sister, which so Kittery already thought of Phoenicia as her sister, and then like she kind of realizes later on after looking at her blood and stuff that it seems like we might actually be real sisters. Then it turns out that they're just both clones of their mom. Which
Yeah.
I think I would Kittery start crying. I'm like, this literally. I mean, yeah, it sucks to be a clone and stuff, but it literally doesn't change your relationship with Phoenicia and the fact that uh you've always been like, you've always been her sister, whether you were adopted sister, real sister, or a clone sister, whatever. So yeah, I honestly wish we could have gotten like at the end of the show, like a little bit more of a future.
A beach
Uh,
episode? They did that.
no, I'm not. I'm talking about in future toward the end when you see like what their lives ended up like. I wish we could have seen more of how Phoenicia and Kittery's relationship evolved and stuff because
I mean,
I guess after they got back, because Kittery was still pretty young when they got back, Phoenicia would have been like not just like an older sister, but like more like a mother to her at that point. I mean, yeah, Kittery would have been more like a mother to Phoenicia at that point. But
yeah, I mean, I, the whole mission of like, oh yeah, we gotta like have a kid here. I mean, I get later on it's like the one dude made that happen, but it just kind of all seemed like bullshit to me. I didn't like their
yeah,
characters.
I like their characters. They're
So off their characters, I guess let's talk about what's his name, Zach, like
Kittery's fiance.
yeah.
Boy, did that come out of
I mean,
nowhere.
obviously
Zach.
all the characters are kind of tropey, and obviously Zach's
No,
character is
I don't feel like
basically the
I think
fucking
all the
student
characters start
president
off
trope.
tropey, but they all kind of
He's the
evolve.
student president trope. He has
No,
glasses.
no, Zach.
He's a nerd. He follows
He's.
the rules.
I do like how at the end Zach becomes a lot more adventurous and stuff. So that's what like how his character arc evolves, where he um he does break out of that just following the rules type of trope, and he becomes a lot less one dimensional. But the thing is, because of Zach, I think it's mostly because of Zach's personality that he doesn't come off as being that interesting initially. Um, I didn't really grow to like Zach for like several episodes, so it was like close to the end before I
I never
really
liked
started to like
Zach.
him. He he's kind of like really just that one dimensional trope for a lot of it. Then over time, he slowly, but he does evolve. So by the end of it, I ended up liking Zach, especially when they started to head back into space on their next adventure and stuff. I thought Zach had fully come around and was like a true character in his own right. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
really
don't.
all
I
I have to say
mean,
about Zach.
I'm trying to think anything like what was his. I mean, what was his arc?
His his arc was like he never really felt much for his dad to begin with because his dad was like a researcher, so it always took a lot of time away
Yeah,
from
but
his family and stuff. And
I
that's why Zach said he wanted to be like well he wanted to be like he didn't want to be like his dad and going into that specific type of field, but he wanted to like research space and explore and stuff. Um, he didn't wanna have a job that took away from spending time with his family, basically.
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. All right, who's next? Who's next?
I guess we could go with I mean, we talked about Olgar,
Let's talk.
vi
Yeah, we talked about him. I mean, not much else to say. I mean, his brother, the reporter, bullshit, and he was kind of like in on
yeah.
it. He's kind of a dick
I
the
will
whole
say
series, and then
yeah, I will say his voice actor in the English dub was, kinda bad.
he has a gun, so that's pretty cool.
And I do like his, relationship with Luca, and like I said, I totally ship Olgar and Luca. Overall, Luca was my favorite character in the show, I'm not
Oh
gonna lie.
my
But,
god! Of course,
uh
I'm not surprised. The character with the dick's your favorite. Anyways, what
well,
about
in that case, there are actual guys in the show too, so
what
more
about
care
the what's her name? The other
Yunha,
chick, Yuna, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think of her? I hated her. Thought she was a stupid character. Wait, so who did you think was like the person manipulating the ship? Did you call that?
No, I was totally wrong on it. I thought it was Ares.
That would have been a Interesting twist.
That's why she
You
was
should
the
have
least.
known, Ari.
She was the least obvious. So it seemed like
Yeah.
it was.
I mean, at first I thought it was gonna be this chick, but I'm like, that's too obvious. That's the quiet chick who doesn't do shit and that hates herself.
I
Then
mean,
she
like
she has her whole
I
thing.
didn't think it was going to be her or Olgar because those were the two most likely candidates. I'm like, it's never the most likely when they're going to want to make it like a real surprise
I
reveal.
think of
Like,
all like the ship cast, I think this chick's my least favorite. I hate her.
I don't disagree with you on that.
I
I
mean,
like
I
her. I
mean,
like
I
her.
think she's like the least. I mean, she's
She's
kind of
the
just.
least developed character in the entire
I mean,
show.
she
Oh
has
yeah,
the whole
but
singing arc. She has like anxiety, but like the thing is, it doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense because her mother treated her like shit, but like she has the exact talent that her mother has, basically. And like obviously we see that later on, so it was just kind of like did it and that's the thing.
yeah,
If she I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, she I'm gonna agree with you on this. She was my least favorite character, but she does have some interesting moments here and there. Overall, though, uh,
She cuts her
she
hair in
she
the end.
becomes. I mean, she's definitely one of the most top tier waifus in the entire show. I mean, her I mean, she's like, I mean, look at her. But especially the beach episode, I really liked her in the beach episode. I feel like I mean, look at the massive size of her chest and the fact that she was the only female on the beach episode not wearing a bikini was a freaking crime. That's not how you do a beach episode. That's not how you do one. You do not pit your most busty chick in your entire show in a one piece. That's not how you do things.
Yeah, but
It's like a rule that's been established in anime. They've
you put the shy chick in the fucking one piece.
Not when the shy chick is literally the most busty chick in the show.
They did the
She
same thing with
outclassed.
they did the same thing with Hinata, but they did later on give her the one piece that has like the holes in it though.
That's
I think that could have worked, right? The one piece with the holes in it,
yeah, that would have worked. But she was literally wearing like a
like
school swimsuit or something.
the middle school swimsuit is what she was wearing.
Yeah. So that was the only thing I really kind of was looking forward to when I saw the beach episode. I was like, fine, because I think I don't know if at that point I think at that point she had already cut her hair,
Yeah,
but
her I hated her haircut. I don't like short hair
like,
in general, like that, especially on like that body type.
honestly, with that body type, she would have looked good with any type of hair. But I was just really upset that she didn't have that bikini. But
Yeah. All right.
but
So
maybe if
next
we get a
character,
movie or something, they can put her in a bikini.
a movie
Actually,
would
they have
be
like
cool. That would be
yeah,
cool.
like
They did like an
maybe.
OVA movie.
So I guess what's the next character? We didn't cover Shars yet.
Yeah,
He
I
was the
guess
main bad
he's
guy.
the main bad guy. Also, kind of just like
But he's also just another victim like everybody else, and that
yeah,
he's
like I was saying, he does have I think the most tragic backstory because I mean he was literally brainwashed into like becoming a suicidal maniac.
and then he spent like maybe the last like what s- however like was it how long was he like in that isolation prison or
Like
whatever
a
before
year, like between 1 to 3 years. I forget the
yeah
exact.
so he definitely had it worse as far as backstory than pretty much
But he
everybody
did
else
get to hang out with the princess, who was the probably the actually true waifu. Let's be honest.
well the princess is basically Aries.
Yeah, but like they have different personalities.
Yeah, but if you're just talking about just sheer looks, Aries ends up looking exactly like the princess, especially
Mm.
at the end she has the same haircut and everything.
But does the princess fuck?
Aries does. She's talking about having kids at the end.
Yeah, but I feel like the princess. I mean, she's not the princess for show. If we learned anything about princesses from, I guess other anime, you know.
I can't think of
princesses.
another anime we covered that actually, yeah, we
Not
covered,
not
like,
that we covered. I'm just saying in general.
actually, yeah, we've covered, I think, a few anime that had princesses, like, Smartphone, for instance.
Yeah,
Um,
they're all hoes.
uh, well, not according to Reddit.
Yeah, I guess.
I just hurt your feelings with that, didn't I?
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
but I said, did I say bitches or hoes?
you said hoes just now, but
Oh
then the
man.
smartphone episode, you
So
referred
wait,
to
what's
me
more
with
offensive, bitches or hoes?
um, I don't know. I guess it
Women?
depends on
What
who
am I
you
supposed
ask.
to call? What am I supposed to call a bunch of dumb, like harlot, sex fiend, literally designed for male fantasy characters? What the fuck am I supposed to call them? If
I
those
think you
aren't
call.
hoes, I don't know what hoes are. So
I they
fuck
they
you and
they
your
actually.
waifus,
Well, the waifu is the actual terminology for what you would call like
dude. Waifus are hoes, bro.
no, no, no.
Dude,
They're
yes,
like they're.
they're just
I mean,
anime hoes.
no. I mean, and I guess I could think of like certain waifus that might be hoes. I mean that well, certain hoes that would be still waifus, but not all waifus are necessarily just hoes. So it really does depend on the personality traits and stuff.
All waifus, unless they're like a waifu that literally, but in the shows that we talk about in general, especially harem, where they're just a bunch
We
of
don't talk
whores.
well, like we don't talk about
Well, they're
like,
just a
the
bunch
last
of whores that
the
want to fuck one guy. They're just hoes
no
and bitches,
no
and fuck
like
anyone who
like
disagrees.
the last
It's not
actual
sexist. It's
harem
not
that we
anything.
talked
That's
about
what they
was
are.
probably
They're a
High
male
School of the
fantasy.
Dead.
You're
Uh,
sexist for watching harem if you're
no,
fucking gonna get offended by it. Fuck you. Fuck yourself.
no,
Cry
no.
yourself a fucking river.
Well, now you get to answer to Reddit.
Reddit can fuck off. And it wasn't even just Reddit, it was other places too. But let's
Yeah.
fuck the internet.
Did you get any like personal messages about that? Like,
Hell
you,
no.
dude, you really hurt my feelings with that.
Dude, fuck. People just get offended when you shit talk their waifus. But listen, we're here to speak the realities of anime. And I've made it clear harem is a degenerate shit to do, okay?
No,
I'm not
no,
saying it's as degenerate as watching like hentai, but it's almost worse than hentai because at least hentai you're jacking off and getting off most of the time unless you're a true weirdo. But like with harem, you're like pretending like you're living in this fantasy where you get all these bitches. Like fuck you.
well, the thing is, like,
Like that's
you could
more
have
unhealthy. At least
you could
jacking off
have.
is I could argue is
I
healthy
mean,
mentally.
I
Watching
mean, like you.
harem is bad for you because you're just living in a fantasy world and you're never gonna find a real woman because you just want to have a fucking harem. Unless you're fucking a polygamist, it's not gonna happen.
I mean, or you live like you're like a Saudi prince or something.
Or you join
Uh,
the Church of Mormon.
the Mormons don't have like harems, do they?
Yeah, polygamy is well, it's frowned upon, but like traditionally, like the founder of Mormonism, Joseph Smith, was a polygamist, and it was a big thing that was going on for a long time. And they have this whole thing of where you can actually be married to like all kinds of things. You can actually marry dead people, and you can be married to your parents. Yeah, or you can be
Wow.
married to many wives.
Yeah. But back on topic. um.
What do you
Uh.
mean that is the topic of
No.
harem? It's the
No. No.
same shit. It's
Well, I wouldn't
you're like,
but
oh, that's weird. That's weird. Even though you literally watch animes where that happens in the anime and it's all
no,
fine in anime,
no.
but we talk about in the
I
real world, you're like, that's
I've not
fucking
ever.
gross.
I have not ever recommended a harem. Like the last actual harem we watched was High School of the Dead, and that was your recommendation.
So, what's your
Yeah.
definition of a harem?
Hmm.
Okay, okay.
Well, if we're going by that dude on Reddit, it's anime where like they're all either the main characters' wives, concubines, or servants.
Okay, then we
Uh,
haven't watched a single harem anime because none of them were married. So
yeah. That's the way I think too. I mean, if we're going by that strict definition,
Yeah, they gotta be married, sure.
and like like they have to tie the knot before it that goes into full blown harem. I'm pretty sure. I mean, actually,
Hmm.
I that anime does exist, and maybe we'll cover that in a future episode. But back on topic, I think we've talked about most of the main cast. There's one character in particular I did want to talk about specifically because this character highlights what I consider to be the biggest flaw in the show, and that's Polina. We've talked about her briefly, but by biggest flaw in the show's biggest flaw is its runtime. And
Yep.
Polina, she's part of the main cast toward the end, but she's literally almost viewed like a plot device more than a character because she's just there to provide a way for the other characters to learn about all the history that they lost and stuff.
Yep.
But she could have been so much more if this anime had had a longer runtime because I feel like she there was a solid character there. We just don't get enough time to really see that, especially at the end. Polina has like a student. I mean, like she's like a teacher for she's a one of
A
Funicia's
history
teachers
teacher.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention she seems to have some kind of relationship with Olgar. Well, it's sort of implied that anyway.
I think they're all
Although
kind of
I
just
still,
friends, I guess.
although I still ship Olgar and Luca, so that's never going to change. But Polina, I feel like she could have been so much more. And I didn't end up caring for her that much by the end of the show because she's in like a few episodes and like out of all the episodes that she
Well, she's
after she
not
gets
part
to
of the.
start,
She's not really. I mean, she's part of the crew, but like,
they hold a party to welcome her to the crew and they call her part of the family in at
yeah,
one
but
point.
like that's what I'm
But
saying. But she's not. She never
she
does
like
anything.
I mean, and she does like get like an actual ending, like all the other characters, where you see what she's doing at the end when the Astra takes off and stuff. So I really wanted to see her develop more as a character, but we don't get that. She does almost every other character gets like an entire episode where they get like developed a little bit, like you get to learn a little bit more about their past. Polina has a pretty tragic past. She lost her entire crew, and like rather than wanting to go out and die herself, she put herself in cryogenic stasis for over 100 years. And it was pretty clear that she had a pretty close relationship with her crew
Yeah,
because she went out
she
of her
collects
way to
their
go collect their
tags.
tags and stuff because she wanted to make sure that some piece of them got back to Earth or well whatever planet that they ended up on. So,
Can we
but
wait, real quick? If they, why couldn't they just like the meteor or whatever that was coming to the Earth? Why didn't they just use the warp devices to like warp the meteor into like pieces?
that was the thought I had earlier when I was talking about the meteor. I totally forgot about that, but yeah, that was my thought with that
Like,
earlier. It's like if
if
they had
they
these warp devices, why didn't they just warp the meteor out back into deep space rather than let it destroy the planet? But
well, unless I guess maybe. But the thing is, if they have like a key fob where they could create like a portal that big, couldn't they create like a bigger version of that? I feel like they should be able to. Or even if with the little one, they probably could have broken it up. Hmm. And like,
yeah,
I don't know the exact math of how fast meteors travel through space, but their fucking spaceships damn well travel much faster than the speed at which the meteor is traveling.
yeah, and that meteor hit years, like a few years after they first discovered that it was on trajectory to hit Earth.
Maybe there
So
was people there that were trying to
they
stop
had
it.
time.
Yeah,
I
the whole Earth.
I
I
think there
find
was
it
like a
hard to
whole.
believe that Earth could get like destroyed
I
with
think
this
there was
level
a
of
whole
technology.
I think there was a whole subplot that no, this is my theory anyway, and I'm going completely into speculation and pure nonsensical theory. But I think that when the meteor was first discovered, some of like the higher ups and like governments of different countries got together and kind of like sort of decided who was going to live and who was going to die, and maybe use that as a chance to cleanse humanity and start over.
They just
So
wanted to have control.
Yeah, so I don't think all of humanity migrated to. I don't think it was like half of humanity was wiped out. But they use that war as an excuse, but I think half of humanity was wiped out by that meteor because they selected who they felt was worthy of moving on to the new planet, and everybody else was just left there to die.
So you do think a lot of people were left to die?
Yes, intentionally.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
they saw that as an opportunity to basically cleanse their
But
population
my
of
question is,
unwanted.
I get they want to like get rid of warp technology because of its like potential danger, but the thing is, why don't you like if you have warp technology, in theory, you could spend that 100 years instead of like hiding the technology, you could have spent that 100 years finding other planets. So if people have disagreements with each other, they could just go to their own fucking planet.
I don't think they were going to find that many planets in a solar system.
Well, they're not in a solar system; they're in a
well,
galaxy,
well, in a
and they
galaxy,
have like multiple times light speed. They can literally go across the entire universe. There's an infinite number of planets.
but how many of those planets are inhabitable for human beings?
Even still, like the technology that they have, there would be an infinite amount of planets to have an infinite amount number of humans.
No, like it would like there is probably an infinite number of planets that humans could inhabit out there, but it would have taken them an infinite amount of time to find all those planets, and then the time it takes to colonize those planets and stuff.
I'm saying if you fucking like hate the way shit is, go somewhere else.
That I mean,
I'm saying
they
it's an
did. I mean,
option.
clearly, like they found like the Astra crew themselves found other planets that humans could live on, like that Paradise planet. I mean, you could have basically just made an entire civilization on that planet. That
That's what
planet
I'm
was definitely
saying. It doesn't make sense. Why
habitable.
did they have to go to Astra?
They wanted a planet that was as close to Earth as possible. So that's
But
what I
the
think. That's
other
why.
planets were closer to Earth. What are you talking about?
No, I think Astra, like even like the continent layout, was very similar to Earth. Like they found like the perfect planet with
Oh,
Astra.
you mean close as in geologapher, whatever that word is, not
Yeah,
like distance. Okay.
yeah. Like geography, like climate, atmosphere. I guess like
But why? For they can just say like it's manipulate
um
people? If like
well
but like we gotta remember, what was the whole point of going to the other planet? To escape death. And also, if that was like the star route, how is there no other humans like I feel like okay, maybe I'm just an asshole, but if humanity was like migrating off the planet, like I would have maybe just stopped at one of those other planets and like I'm just gonna live here. Fuck that new planet. Why didn't that happen?
pretty sure maybe some people did stop along the way and like, nah,
See
we're gonna do our own
that would have
thing.
been a. That's why
But
this could have been a
those
24 episode anime. They could have gone into shit like that.
and really maybe in the future they will expand on that in a future anime. Maybe we'll
Mm.
get a spin-off talking about or like maybe a prequel anime talking about the whole migration to Astra to begin with.
Or maybe we'll get an
'Cause
anime with their kids, and their kids have to do the thing. But now it's tradition to warp them into space and give them a spaceship and give them 30 days or how long was the trip? 6 months. That's what the tradition is. Instead of just dropping them off on the planet for the weekend like they were originally supposed to, they just drop them and then throw them into space and see how many make it back alive. And I think it should be a reality show, kind of like that show Scared Straight, but it's like scared shitless. They
you know
take they
what?
take troubled kids and throw them into space and see if they can make it back.
Yeah, honestly, maybe we'll get like a spin-off where like it goes over like the originals in jail, like Orange is the New Black,
Hmm.
2160 edition.
All right, yeah. Well, speaking of which, how does this fit into the connected series? theories, because I
Well,
think this kind of by having Earth destroyed, kind of I mean, we've used the simulation theory too much. I don't think we could use it for this one.
well, the thing is,
Here's my
yeah.
theory, right?
Wait, here. Oh, let me give my theory
Okay,
first. I
you give
think
yours, I'll give
uh,
mine.
my theory is not all of the ships actually went to Astra, and some of them got lost somewhere else in the universe, and they may have landed on other planets that
And they just
like
called instead of that's my theory is they I would have the same thought, but the planet that they landed on, they just called it Earth
yeah, and they
instead of
continue.
calling
They
it
can.
Astra because that like if you're gonna like rewrite history, why would you change the name of the planet? Why didn't they just call it Earth? Wouldn't that have made it easier to like change history if you like kept as much like if the rule number one of lying is you have to embed as much truth as possible. So to change something like the name, it might seem small on the surface level, but if like you're trying to manipulate the masses and like manipulate history, you're telling me there's not a single book that they like brought anywhere that or document anywhere that mentions like Earth. You know what I mean? They would have had to get rid of every single thing that ever referenced Earth ever, or it wouldn't make any
Yeah.
sense. They would and instead of like they would have to retroactively completely change all of like recorded knowledge to modify the name of the fucking planet. Just seems like more work than it would be worth. They could just called it Earth and no one would have been the wiser.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, another theory too is like that asteroid when it hit Earth. I mean, basically, the Earth launched into a new ice age after that, just like the ice age after the dinosaurs got wiped out. So maybe over time, like humanity, like starts
Or
to like.
maybe um what's his name, Todoroki with the ice powers, maybe he actually just has a final battle which freezes the Earth.
I mean, that kind of negates the whole the asteroid thing, which we know happened. So
We didn't see the asteroid.
we saw debris from the asteroid in
That could have
the
been someone's quirk.
That's true. Maybe the whole thing was just an illusion to hide the actual planet, and the actual planet's just fine. The illusion was just meant to keep people from landing on it.
Yeah, dude, that wouldn't that be the greatest twist ever? Is that
Yeah.
what if that planet actually was like completely fine?
Yeah, and like in fact, the over like since they didn't decide to throw 100 years of human progress, they've ascended like to light speed, like time travel and stuff.
And that kind of
Uh,
actually would make sense. There's just like and like they're just like they know that the fast travel point because that's kind of what it is. Like there's like a wormhole fast travel point right at that spot. They just like put like ships there just in case someone warps there to see if they can get to the ship.
yeah, I mean, uh,
They don't explain why that ship was just randomly there in perfect condition right next
Yeah,
to the
I mean,
spawn point.
that's another thing too. That is the
I
what
thought
would
there was
you
going to be
call that?
something like oh like
That's
maybe
like Deus Ex Machina on a
I thought
whole
they were
nother
going to
level.
explain that like oh yeah someone put that there or this was
And
planned in some
the thing
way.
is, think about just even outside of Earth's atmosphere. Just think about how vast space is. What are the chances that they would land that close to a completely functional ship?
That's what I'm saying.
What
It
are these chances?
had to have been rigged,
One in
right?
an astronomical amount. It is insane. Like there had to be like somebody had to orchestrate them landing right by that ship
Yeah.
because that was like some pinpoint perfect accuracy, like that, or just unbelievable luck. As in, when I say unbelievable, there is literally like it's not improbable. It approaches impossibility at that point.
Well, my original theory is like the one dude's like reporter brother wasn't actually dead and like he manipulated something, but that clearly wasn't true. So,
As far as we know,
or
that
maybe the teacher didn't die.
yeah, like you could go any number of ways with it. And I think when we get like Astra season 2, like 100 years from now, uh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess with all that said, I guess let's just wrap up with best moments and aspects before this goes on too long, too long. So I guess my best moment probably was the end scene that we talked about earlier when he like still sacrifices himself and loses his arm, and everyone decides that they're gonna work together. And I mean, it was just it was definitely a sort of forced moment, but I think it was deserved based on how the show played out. And I mean, I think the journey ended well, so I enjoyed that probably the best. And the twists were really good too. They were really good, and I think that was kind of my favorite like aspect of the show was just kind of how the story it did kind of start a little. It started interesting, but like it didn't. It kind of kicks in later on, and you just like want to just keep going and see what happens next. And I think that's the biggest push for the show. It's just kind of like a fun adventure. It actually reminds me of like a Magic School Bus episode I've seen a long time ago. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, I would
I mean,
say my best.
there's a bunch, but what
Yeah,
were your final thoughts here, noob, on this? Or
I
not
would say
final thoughts, best moments first.
my best moment was probably at the end when they got back and everybody was
Do you
like
like?
reflecting over their time together on
Oh,
that
okay.
journey and stuff. Um, and everybody's just started thanking Kanata for being a great leader and helping them get home. I thought that was a very emotional, and it was an overall really just good moment.
I did like the when he gets his spaceship at the end was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
But what did he do for all those? What was it? A 7 year time skip?
he wrote a book, became really rich, and then bought the spaceship back.
Did he do any like additional training? Why did it take 7 years to do that?
Um, I don't know. I think he was going on tour, doing interviews.
Why would
They
that take
still,
7 years?
I don't
Also,
know.
the king dude, he's literally becomes the king, and he like still goes on the ship.
Yeah, I mean, being a king is not as cool as traveling space, though. So,
Well, he's like the king of like the king in this world is like he's basically like a mayor.
yeah, more like a more like a governor, I guess. But yeah, a
No,
king.
more like isn't it like a mayor? It's like a little fucking city, isn't it?
It's a
It's
kingdom. You only
it's
ever get to see the
I don't know
you
how
only
big it is. I didn't get the scale of it.
yeah. We only saw like how big like that capital city of it was, but it's more like you're like a governor or something.
I
You're right
guess.
though. That king does isn't as powerful as an actual monarch. Because the kingdom itself was only established as like the
The front.
remnants of the company that like the originally before that was a
Wait,
kingdom, it
can
was the
can you
company that
imagine
invented
what is that
technology.
like when they got to the planet? Like the CEO of that company is like, some people want to like retire to the countryside. I want to build a fucking castle and start a medieval society. You think we could pull that off?
Yeah, I don't know what the thought process on that was because
Because that's what we need. Because we're trying to create a peaceful like utopian world. So know what we need to do is like reestablish medieval fucking peasantry and like kingdoms and shit. Like what the fuck?
a lot of the adults in the show did have like some out of control egos though, which
Did
set the whole
so
plot in
wait,
motion
were we
pretty
led to
much. So
believe
that was
all
me
the
surprised.
adults knew the secrets of everything? Like
No,
the adults who had the clones. Not like we know every adult like it was forgotten within generations. But do all the adults that have the clones know the secrets or just the king?
I think it was just maybe the king.
So
I think the other
they didn't even know like all the truths of the world necessarily.
no, they were just trying to hide their own individual dirt, which had nothing to do with the history of the
But they
planet.
knew about the warp drive and shit.
Yeah, probably because the king told them that much. But it depends on how much information that king was willing to actually share with them.
Because he's like the only one that should know, but they said some people in the government know. I don't know. But, anyways, did you have any other best moments or aspects you want to talk about?
Well, I guess my other best moment is pretty obvious. The swimsuit episode. Yeah,
Swimsuit.
man. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Yeah. It's not even a fucking anime. Like, That's how you know you're watching a good anime. Is that if it's a
Yeah,
12 episode anime and they still take the time to do a swimsuit episode.
yeah.
Sometimes
I
you'll
mean,
be watching a 500 plus anime and they don't even have a swimsuit episode. Like, what the
yeah.
fuck?
If an anime manages to last like at least these days, if an anime can last like 50 episodes and not have a single swimsuit episode, I stop. I drop it immediately. Um,
Yeah, if you don't have a swimsuit episode by episode 20, then I don't even care how good it is. I mean, we clearly seen here. Don't tell me you don't have time for it. Like, this show was able to do this entire journey and they still had time for it.
yeah, because even in the depths of space, there's time for waifus and swimsuits.
Yeah, you're seeing them in the spacesuits the whole time. You're like, damn, I just need to see them in some swimsuits. And yeah, I think that was a good episode. But all right, so final thoughts. I'll let you go first. Give me your final thoughts, opinions, comments. How you feeling about this Astra Lost in Space?
It started off pretty slow. It started off, actually, I'm gonna change that. It started off really epic. It kind of slows down after the initial episode, but I thought overall this was just a really great anime. Glad I watched it. I'm surprised I haven't watched it before, but like I said before, Funimation's, especially Funimation's title card, did not make this anime look appealing. It made it look pretty generic, and I just kept on skipping over it. But you truly can't judge a book by its cover or anime by its title cards. So overall, I really love this anime. Glad I watched it. I'll probably end up watching it again at some point, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who has not seen it.
Yeah, I mean, just jumping off your thoughts, I think it is worth watching for sure. I would definitely consider this underrated. The fact that it's such a newer show, and I virtually heard not many people talking about it. I think the Reddit's a little under 1,000 people, so pretty small community for this show that exists. The manga came out in like 2016. The anime was like 2019. So, and as I mentioned before, I am reading the manga right now. I plan on finishing it. So obviously, I like the show enough to do that even after watching the anime. So, I think it's a recommend. And yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. I wish it was longer. Kind of like a lot of the animes we cover. Some of the animes that we watch in this 12 episode format, you just really think, damn, they just need to be longer, some of them. But sadly, this is one of the ones that will be lost in time. Maybe that's the sequel, Astra Lost in Time. That would be some kick ass
Yeah,
shit. That
nah,
really would be a Magic School Bus episode.
yeah. And if the author happened to just stumble upon this, get
Yeah,
on that.
I mean, why not? Why can there be like a wormhole in time, like in space that takes you to it takes them back 100 years? You know, maybe
Yeah,
maybe they're the ones who find the Astra. Oh shit,
it's funny. I mean, I like
the
just
Destiny trap, right?
before we close this one out, I just want to give this one final thought that I had when I was watching the episode where they discovered Polina's ship. I actually thought it was like a Planet of the Apes type thing where they discovered their ship like 1,000 years later with that
That would have been
older ass.
awesome.
I was like, whoa, this is getting like the Planet of the Apes type vibes here, but it ended up not being that. But it was still.
If they took it that far, that'd be sweet. But yeah, so my anime review. What did we want to give this? So as we talked about, we gave Smartphone a 6. Last week we gave Sunday Without God a 6. Oh man,
I mean,
what are we
I
feeling for this show?
I personally, I feel like this show deserves a 7.
You're thinking 7. Let's look at our
Yes.
sevens. Orsuki, Elfin Lied, My Life is a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. I'm thinking 7 is definitely good. We've never given anything a 9.
Yeah, because I think most animes that like
I feel like there's a couple of our animes we gave an 8 that should have like now we I think Angel Beats should have been a 9. But we'll revisit that, like I said, eventually.
yeah.
But for this, I think a 7 is good. Cuz like it's at the level that I think it's good, but
But it was really held back by its runtime more than
its
anything.
runtime and just, I mean, I don't know what I feel like is missing. Where can it be an eight or nine? Maybe it's just there was some emotion to it and like impact, but the show, I think we got to factor in like the impact, like for us personally and for like the fan base. And clearly, this show doesn't have the same level of impact as like, you know, Angel Beats or My
Yeah.
Hero or Erased
Yeah.
or Charlotte. Like
Yeah.
these are shows that are beloved by their fans. They're shows that we loved and like, so I, for that reason, 7 out of 10 I think is a definitely perfect rating for this. So with that said, that's wrapping it up for episode 17 here. What are we covering next week, noob?
Well, next week, which is really this week because this episode's a few days late, we're covering Danchi Guy.
Don Shi. Huh. Any, so what is it about? Do you want to tell
It's
anyone?
it's a well, just a brief description. It's an anime about a group of siblings, and there's just a slice of life about
And
their daily lives.
supposedly this anime is going to be like what, 30 minutes or something? These are really short episodes.
Each episode's about 3 or 4 minutes long.
Okay. So yeah, it's just gonna be kind of a quickie since like our schedules have been kind of all over the place with
Yeah,
life going on here. So we'll definitely get that episode out and after that. And yeah, I think that about wraps it up here. So I
yeah.
am Solo here signing off.
The noob signing off. See you next time.